Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. We didn't start fucking the YouTube recording until just now because I am retarded. But yes, people on YouTube, there were people who commented next time. Yes, Kimberly?
I was just going to say, if you want to get Tiff back for recording you, she's in the trampoline now.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. All right. I think we're back. We had to take a break because, you know, it's not every day that you see, an adult woman on a trampoline with my daughter. So Justin had to go get some video footage of his wife Tiff jumping on the trampoline for funsies. So
well, I had to get her back because she was recording me earlier.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Now it's mutually assured destruction.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
And just so Tiff is aware, because I'm not going to cut it, and I know my wife was whispering in the background, but if you listen closely to segment 1 on the podcast portion on Still Learning, you'll hear my wife in the background whispering to Justin, Tiff's on the trampoline if you want to get her back.
Yeah. She can't get away from that now. It's there.
It's there forever and ever and ever. So, as we said, back again with the Sunday Fun Day 3 and 30 podcast. So we've got 3 spirits here, and then a bonus. Like last time, we're going to try to get Old Del Bishop in here on
4 and a bonus.
4 and 5 total then.
Yeah,
huh?
5 total.
Oh boy. Oh yeah, because you got that little bitty thing back there, whatever that thing is.
Mm-hmm.
It looks potentially like it could be an arsenic bottle or perfume.
Yes.
One of the two. Yes. Both. Okay. All right. What will we get into today, Justin?
So, a buddy of mine, actually the guy that I ran my mead shine with down in Georgia, he had sent me a couple samples of stuff, and I wanted actual bottles of them. And it's kind of funny because he knows how I am with number 13 bottles. And he went through and actually picked out number 13s for me. It doesn't really mean anything because it's just a number on a bottle, but I'm weird like that. But he had sent me a few different spirits that he has done. His name is Chris Lusk, Soakline on social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, things like that. But he had sent me a few different bottles. If he ran them on the same still that we ran the mead shine on, which I don't believe he's got anything else new. It was a 20-gallon from North Georgia with a thumper, and I don't believe he does anything double pot still or anything like that. I believe everything he does is single pass distillation.
Little 20-gallon all copper with a thumper.
Yeah, and it's a little electric setup, runs off 220.
Nice.
It ran really, really well whenever we ran that mead shine. That was the first time I actually got to run a still. So.
Excellent. So 2 things. I don't know if maybe your audience is aware with your fascination with the bottle number 13 of everything, but that's one of the ways we got to know each other because you came into the distillery and you wanted all the number 13s, which, you know, I don't ever number anything past number 3, and 1, 2, and 3 always go to the descendant or a place that person was associated with, etc. But there were some single barrels that we did number, and I believe that you initiated a large Easter egg hunt at Spirits of French Lick.
I did.
For number 13 bottles.
Well, and what was funny is that was Fubar.
Mm-hmm.
And I found bottle number 1 that day. And then plus at that time, the only reason I knew about the Fubar was because we talked about it on my tour after my fight.
Right.
And everybody wanted Fubar. So I ended up muling all kinds of bottles of Fubar to people, number 1.
As it seems to be, that's the beauty of having cult status as a distiller, is that people seem to mule a lot of stuff,
right,
to a lot of states that we're not otherwise distributed in, or markets where you can't find us. So
the funny thing about the number 13, I didn't find it that day, and then I started working there. It was months later. For some reason there was a bottle of Fubar sitting back in the tasting area. And I was like, why is this sitting here? I went and picked it up and looked at it, and it was bottle number 13.
Number 13.
I was like, this is coming home.
All right. So you know that, you probably know this, I think I probably told you this whenever you told me about the number 13 thing, but that's why the blue ball jars that are labeled number 13 are so rare to find, because moonshiners wouldn't use them and they would actually destroy them.
Really?
Yeah, because bad luck.
Yeah.
You know, number 13, you get rid of it. So those are the ones that tend to be the high dollar antique mason jars. If they have a number 13 on the bottom of them,
Yeah.
that's where the collector's money is at, because they're extremely rare. So
I did not know that. I'll be looking for that more.
Also, if I burp and sound like I'm dying, it's because Tiff and Justin fucking poisoned me with some kind of fucking mineral water, whose name I can't even say because I am entirely too white trashy to say it the proper way. What the hell did you give me?
Topo Chico.
And then we put some kind of...
It was Mio. The Mio flavoring.
Yeah. So I've been over here like exploding fucking ever since I drank this shit. I bet I've burped 20 times since I drank that shit. So it was good though.
You're expelling your demons.
I am. Or dying.
Or dying.
Slowly. Probably dying. I'm going to lean towards dying. But, all right. So, do we know what each one of these individually is?
I do. I've looked through my phone, and of course I put my phone in my pocket before I sit down, so I'm going to stand up like a dumbass.
Make sure you talk loud for the videos.
Yeah, because I don't have the microphone.
Listen, one microphone, one set of headphones. That's all. No, I'm not expanding. Nope, not happening. Not happening.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, seriously, guys. So this is going to air both as a video in a video format on the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute channel, and then in an audio format, which I send over to Justin because we are recording audio right now too, and then that goes on the Still Learning podcast. These will both be out usually on the Monday after we do these, and they probably won't necessarily be an every week thing, but once every month or every couple weeks or however often we just get together and do them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, tell me what you got.
So I've got these set up in order of proof, minus the little bottle because I don't know the proof on it. It is not.
Fucking goddamn Topo Chico shit.
Stupid Topo Chico.
Fuck.
And then I figure we will do the Glenmorangie last because it's finished.
Pretty heavy, yeah.
But I've set these up in order of ascending proof because I know that's how we usually like to do things. So this is batch B. Once again, bottle number 13. It's 90.2 proof, and it is 69% corn, 10% rye, 18% barley, and then 3% wheat. So a little 4 grain.
All home distilled and all fairly local.
Yeah. And he, from what I recall, he does try to get some malts and stuff like that as local as possible, but they don't have a whole lot down there that I know of. Mm-hmm. But he gets grain as local as possible.
Yeah. Is this, you probably mentioned it earlier, but I was dying of the Topo Chico. Is this all grain or is this a sugar shine?
All grain.
All grain. Yep. Okay. 100% all grain.
He does do some sugar shine stuff, but he's started getting into a whole lot more all grain. He does do some interesting things as well. Like he did some Skittles a while back, and I don't think it turned out well because I didn't hear anything else about it after he done it. So, but he likes doing some weird things.
Put this in the do not release category.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do not touch.
And the lighting in here sucks, but it is a nice color.
Yeah. And to be 100%, I know he had a couple 15-gallon barrels, so I believe this was on 15-gallon. I just don't know how long it was in those 15-gallon barrels.
That's definitely grain forward, for sure, on the nose, which I like. That corn sweetness is coming through on the nose. There's a little bit of that wheat there, both in like the Philadelphia cream cheese sort of note, and then also a little bit of the bran sort of characteristic.
Mm-hmm. And this one, I think, has more of that bran, and I think the rye, and it's being 10% rye, there's not a whole lot of it there. It's not super spicy, but it's a whole lot more fruit forward, especially for being something done single pass at home too. Yeah, I don't really pick up on maybe just a little bit on the finish. I get the rye, a little bit of black pepper spice on the finish. Mm-hmm. It's all like sweet corn up front. Yep. Then it goes into the earthy wheat thing for sure. Yep. Pretty bold at the end of the mid palate. The mouth feels fairly thin on it, which is surprising for having wheat in it, that it's that thin. It's not bad. It's just thin. And it's 3% 3% wheat.
3%, okay.
Yeah, so it's fairly low on the wheat.
And he's definitely pulling that for 3% wheat. He's pulling that wheat characteristic through heavy on the backside of this.
And I know he doesn't heat up his fermentations. He lets it just naturally ferment. So it's obviously going to heat up a little bit. So he probably ferments a little fast as well. But it's all done in his basement. And like we were down there in like July, August, and it's hotter than devil's dick outside.
Right.
And his basement stays fairly cool too. So that may have helped him out as well. I don't know how much that helped as far as the fermentation goes.
On the palate, because I always tend to go towards food on everything anyways. Like for me, and this is going to sound weird, this is a true fat kid tasting note here. So like pecan pie, especially made out of like Karo syrup, like corn syrup,
yeah,
it has that taste to it.
Absolutely.
Like if it were a little thicker and the heat wasn't as expressive on the backside, I mean, it'd be pretty damn close to pecan pie flavor for sure.
100%. That now that it's set for a second, that fruit, it's like almost like a spiced cherry. And I think that spice is from the rye, and that cherry note there. It may not be cherry, more like whatever stone fruit, but it's more savory than sweet, but it's still fruit.
Right. And I do pick up on some stone fruit, almost cherry, or even a little bit of plum.
Yeah.
I suspect that he may have gotten just a little bit of tails in that too.
Yeah.
Because the wheat is expressive enough for being that low of a percentage.
You think that came through on the back end and he got a little bit of the tails?
I think it did. I'd like to know how long he was in the barrel for sure. I think if you hit this with some air for a few days, and it could even... There's a culinary spice there too, but I can't put my finger on it. I don't know. I want to say there's maybe a little nutmeg on that.
I can see that. And that might be where I'm getting that spiced cherry thing too.
Yeah. Overall, though, he did a fine job.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it for sure. And I don't know if you guys on video can see it, even in the glass, it doesn't have real heavy legs. It's got some legs on it, but nothing real major. It's better than a lot of the home distilled spirits that I've ever had for sure.
I think as far as enzymes, I know he has done some exogenic enzymes before. I think that is what he sticks with a lot. And the only reason I say that is because I know a few of his videos, he was kind of explaining how that works. He'd have very thick like corn mash bill.
Right, trying to break it down.
And then start breaking it down. He would do a video of, blending that together. It'd go from real super thick to really thin.
Absolutely.
And I know one of these also has some, it's not this one, one of them has malted rye in there, which we'll get to shortly. And that may have been when he started going towards trying to use some more malt stuff instead of the exogenic enzymes.
Excellent. All right, well, that's a good starting point. We'll take a little break here, and we'll come back momentarily with part 2. Getting fucking tangled up in cords and shit. All right, I think we're back for segment 2 of 3 and 30,
Dirty
5 and 40, fucking Sunday fun day, just get plastered podcast.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Did you get plastered last time?
I was feeling pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Half of us didn't get plastered last time.
Right.
Is that the way math works?
Yes, exactly. Unless I drank enough, and then that skews the number because I become less than half.
Less than half.
Yeah, like 40%. 40% here. Yes. So what's before you get into this one, what's on the docket for still learning coming up?
I want to talk a little bit about enzymes, mainly malts, and using those to get the sugars and to get the ferment and everything started after the cook. I don't mind talking about exogenic enzymes, but it's something that I think is a little bit more in the future.
Right.
Because I want to focus more on doing it, quote unquote, naturally.
Yeah.
Without adding, and I know those are natural anyways, but they're also extracted, man-made, what have you.
Yes.
But I want to kind of talk about the different malts and then the varying degrees of roasted malts as well for flavor additives.
Yeah, and I think that, and this is just my opinion, I've said this on Distillers Talk many times, when it comes to all grain, well, first of all, if you're going to be doing home distilling, Sugar Shine is the place to start, in my opinion. Get that down and learn that shit.
Absolutely.
And get that out of the way, so it's one skill set that you already have. And then when you start going into doing all grain, there's nothing wrong with exogenous enzymes, but I feel like you should learn with malted barley, malted rye, etc., exactly how that works, the kind of diastatic power you have, and maybe even spend some time to learn the formulations and the math to actually figure out your diastatic power, plus your percentage of efficiency, because I think that'll help you out as a distiller as much or more than anything ever will out there. So, and again, nothing wrong with exogenous enzymes. I would even suggest to people that after they get done with all grain, even going over and getting a koji culture, and kicking a koji culture in so that you get those same enzymes you get out of exogenous enzymes, but you're doing it in a less efficient way and a more traditional way. And that has been going on in the United States. People think exogenous enzymes are fairly new. They are, but it was actually originally brought into production in the United States back in the 1880s, I think, maybe 1890s. I have to go back and look, by a Japanese gentleman who worked for the Whiskey Trust in Illinois. He was actually converting everything using koji culture for their whiskeys and bourbons at that time. So it's a much older thing than people realize it is. So.
I'm going to throw something out here.
Yeah.
I've been calling it the wrong thing since I started working. I call it exogenic.
Exogenic. It's exogenic.
And you've let me do it this whole time.
Well, I mean, every time Dad tries to say citric acid, he says citrus acid.
Oh, I know.
Citrus acid. You gotta get some citrus acid.
There's some citrus in there.
Right. It happens. It's part of it.
It is what it is.
What we got up next on the docket?
So, I actually just realized, and I hadn't really looked at these in a good little while since he had sent these to me. These are all 4 grains minus the last one we're going to do, just tweaking the mash bill or the numbers a little bit.
Very cool.
So the last one was batch B, I believe. Yes, that was batch B. Was 69 corn, 10 rye.
If it wasn't, trust me, somebody's going to let us know, because I held it up and showed the camera, and they're going to be like idiots.
Yeah. No microphones, having the batches wrong. Right. What are you doing? So the next one's batch C. It's just a smidge different. It's 71.5% corn, 10% rye, 15% barley, and 3.5% wheat. So I'm just a little variation on the corn, a drop in the barley from before, and a slight, a 0.5% raise in the wheat from what we had prior. Got
specific with them 0.5s,
right?
Them halves.
He's a numbers guy, like I am, so like everything is like to the T.
Yeah.
He actually, I'll have to send it to you. He has a spreadsheet that he sent me that has everything built in for proofing down, to where you don't have to do the math. You just put, and you can actually use, so when we did the mead shine, I used the sweet water to proof down with.
Yeah.
So you can actually put whatever you're proofing down with, the proof of that, and it will tell you how much of that you need to proof down to your, it's actually, I'll send it to you at some point. It's on like Google Drive.
The only bad thing with the 0.5s is, especially as you get into an actual commercial distillery, it gets very hard to actually monitor what is half of a pound, right?
I can see that.
And then the other part of that is that the TTB already doesn't like us putting mash bills on, because they want to be able to track it and make sure that you're doing it exactly. So if you throw a 0.5% of something on there, that's a good way of pulling down their wrath, as it were.
Gotcha.
There's a good color on that too.
Yeah. And this one is sitting at 101 proof. Once again, as far as I know, because this is what he had whenever I was down there, was in a 15-gallon barrel. And he may have honestly started with... That was serious.
Yeah, he got the TV turned up real loud next door.
He may have started with batch A in a barrel and then kept using that barrel. So, batch A may have been in a once-used barrel. Batch B may have been in a twice-used barrel. It's quite possible. So that's why, and we started with batch C. So that may have been the lightest one.
This is super weird and funky. There's like a citrus and pine note on this.
Yeah, I would almost compare that to like whenever we've done gin, whenever the juniper first starts coming over, not when it's super heavy, but when it first starts, got that little bit of piney note to it.
Right. Or even like the stone beer or the Groot that we did at Beck's Mill.
Yeah.
It's got that almost spruce bough thing going on.
Which, and I'll say, and it's totally off topic here, but since you brought that up, that is one of the only things that I've ever tried that you try, like you taste the wash, and the distillate tastes exactly like to a T the same as that. It was crazy.
It distills very straight line, the stone beers do for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but they definitely do. I mean, you can pick up all the various botanicals plus the grain, plus if you actually heat the rocks properly with wood, which we couldn't the day that we did it at Beck's Mill last time. We had to do it on propane.
Yeah.
We had Dad actually cook it out there cooking rocks. He had a little grill thing, and it was a whole ordeal because we were under a burn ban at the time.
Maybe that'll be the picture we use for the thumbnail with this. No, I've got a picture of him cooking the pumpkin. That's where it was.
Right? That or you screenshot Tiff on the trampoline. I'm sure she'd like that.
Do that, it'll look like a Nirvana album cover.
Yeah, there's definitely like that spruce / pine thing on the nose there. How much rye was this?
This one was 10% rye, so it's actually the same amount of rye as what was in the one before.
Mm-hmm. Well, it stepped it up on the nose. I presume that's what I'm smelling. There's the rye. It's kind of an herbaceous sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot more rye apparent on that. And it's all at the front of the palate, and then now on the finish, it builds, and I'm getting a lot on the finish.
Every exhale.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely there.
More herbaceous, too. Like you said. Like, it's got a lot more...
It has a little of that whorehound candy thing going on.
Yeah.
It's got a little notes, not on the nose, but on the palate of mint. This one's kind of fucking with me a little bit, to be honest with you. I will say this. I actually prefer this one pretty substantially over the first one.
Yeah.
I feel like the mouth feels a lot better on this, too.
It's a little bit thicker. I think in the corn... So the first one was 69% corn. This one's 71.5% corn. This one, I think, has a whole lot more, number one, body. And the sweetness kicks, and it holds on through about 3/4 of the palate.
Mm-hmm.
And then that spice is there the whole time. But once the corn or the sweetness falls off, that spice hits like the side of the tongues a little bit, almost like an astringency.
Yeah.
And then it just heats up, like I said, it goes with every exhale. It's not an ethanol hot. It's not black pepper to me. It's more like grains of paradise, like we talked before, because that sweetness is still there.
I get a little more. I still get like the nutmeg thing, like we got on the first one, but here it's not. It doesn't get as kind of earthy.
Mm-hmm. So like more like roasted nutmeg almost instead of
yeah, almost like a pumpkin pie baking spice sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't get the vegetal off of this I got off the first one. I think on that first one, we discussed that a little bit, maybe in the first segment and then in between segments. I think he might have got into his tails just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And here, I think he's done a better job of getting the cut where it needs to be at.
And he may have, because I know he's the one that kind of turned me on to that proofing down with the sweet water.
Mm-hmm.
He may have done a little bit of that with this. I'm not 100% sure. I'd sent him a message, and I'm kind of waiting to hear back from him, and we'll make sure to put everything that we don't know now. If we find out prior to this going out, we'll put it in the description of the video.
Absolutely. No, that's not bad at all. That one would hold up to a cocktail, and I think the positive notes of it would still come through.
Yeah.
It is just a little hot on the finish, ethanol wise, but again, I think that's a reflection of the age.
Yeah.
If he went in the 15s with these, both of them we tasted so far, he could have easily went 2 years on those
Yeah.
in a 15, and they would have been perfectly fine, and I think would have matured exactly where you would want them at.
Mm-hmm.
And they're great expressions for what they are, for sure, especially for an all-grain home distiller. So most people do an all-grain at home. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's trash.
Yeah.
So,
and I won't mention any groups or anything on here, but both of us are members of a few different like shine groups on Facebook.
yeah.
And a lot of the questions that come out on there, like you had talked about earlier, are people that are wanting to just jump in straight to all grain, and then their first match, they're like, "Help!"
Right, yes, please help.
So like they're not getting the gravity out of it that they think they should get,
Yeah.
and then their volume is low on the back end, and since their volume's low, they end up trying to keep too much of both sides.
Yes, absolutely. Well, especially if you're doing a true all grain and you're going, almost 2 pounds per gallon, if not a little more of grain, and then you're going to have to clean that up before it goes into your still, because of those straight-sided, flat-bottom Appalachian-style stills that most people have. You can't run any solids in it, so your returns on all grain are...
Have you tried that again since it's been sitting there for a second?
No.
Peach pits, like sweet, the fleshy part of peach
Yeah.
on the palate wise, and like the astringent pit part of it.
Mhm.
That's wild. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't want that to go.
That was, it's almost a little bit of bitter almond there for sure. I
Yeah.
could see that, which we had a little bit of that prunus thing on the last one.
Prunus.
I don't pick it up as much on this. Now, I will say, you're correct in that the peach pit thing is there. It is almost leaning into just a hint of black cherry.
Yeah.
Not in an offensive way, because that's one of the things, as you know, I'm not a big fan of in a whiskey in particular. This is done in such a way that it's actually fairly well balanced. It's there as more of a hint, right? This would be fantastic, though, for a cordial like a cherry bounce or something like that, because it would really amp that up substantially.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, there's segment number 2, I think. So we got 5 today. We've been through 2 so far, right?
There too.
All right. So we are going to. I don't know what you've got in the little potion bottle over there, because you haven't told me.
Would you like me to tell you now?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to decide when we bring the old man in here to fuck with him, because I know that the scotch is going to fuck with him.
Yes.
And we're not going to let him know that it's a scotch.
So we're gonna pour that before he gets in here, or he's not gonna know if
He's not going to know. I just turned the label the other direction. He ain't going to know.
What? Glenmorangie.
Glenmorangie. Glenmargie.
Smells like citrus. So the small little clear one, and I don't have one of those aged. I actually need to get a hold of him to get another bottle of that aged. But it is 80.5% rye. 24.5 of that is unmalted. So 80, 76, 56. So 56 of it is, 56% of it is malted rye. I just did that in my head.
That'll be an interesting one to get into, because that can, speaking from experience, that can go dog food real quick.
Okay. So 56% of it is malted rye, 24.5% of it unmalted rye, and 19.5% corn. And it's 3 types of corn. There's yellow dent, Wapsie, and bloody butcher corn.
Gotcha. So he's almost going to Pennsylvania style rye, except that he's flipped the components around to where he's got more malted rye than he does raw rye.
Gotcha. And I don't know the percentages of the corn, but there are 3 types of corn in there.
Excellent.
I mainly brought this one because I think you and I both feel the same about Bloody Butcher in too large of quantities.
Yeah.
And I, aside from Hindostan, because it has Wapsie in it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But that's as a heirloom corn.
Right.
So everything mixed in. I don't remember. I've probably had stuff with Wapsie in it before, but I've never known about having something with Wapsie.
It was bred by the great Frank Kutka. I guess he's still around. He was I know he's still around. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he was a specialty corn breeder for years. Wapsie Valley was one of his varieties, and he did a lot of breeding like me, where he was doing a lot of crosses back and forth, and then not necessarily controlling for them, but doing landrace breeding. But he also did a lot of controlled crosses, and the most recent thing that I know of that he came out with, and I can't remember the name of it, he found a way to work a popcorn gene into the corn genome. And the really cool thing about that is popcorn doesn't often outcross with the various field corns and sweet corns because it's non-compatible. And this is a great way to grow and create a variety that can't cross with GMO varieties. And that's really probably his biggest claim to fame overall, was that. But, I agree with you. Bloody Butcher, for me, I know there's people going to argue with it. I think it's a trash corn for whiskey distillation most of the time.
Small amounts I don't mind.
It is not a focused corn. And I will tell you this. If you don't believe me, get 3 or 4 different varieties of heirloom corn and make grits or cornbread out of them. And I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, Bloody Butcher will be the least impressive of the 3 or 4 that you have. And if it doesn't make great grits or cornbread, it's not going to make good whiskey.
If you give me a piece of cornbread with Bloody Butcher, I will throw it away. Because, so Bloody Butcher to me, and I won't mention a distillery, but
I would out of loyalty to my good friend Kelly Tennille, but I'll let it go.
So I won't mention a distillery, but most of you, if you've had this, you'll probably know. I've met one person.
We all know.
I've met one person, and the guy's not really a bourbon, like he doesn't like bourbon, like to be able to pick up things. He just likes to drink.
Yeah.
So he liked it, or he said he did. I think he liked it because it was free.
Because it had alcohol in it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I bought a bottle of this during Women's Month because I thought it was right to support this.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it home and I tried it. And when you keep a wash rag and it gets a little moist and it goes funky?
Yep.
That is what Bloody Butcher corn is to me.
Well, and I will, let me say this too about that particular distillery, and we won't name it, but people will figure it out. I guarantee you 90% of people who are listening to this have already figured it out. But they don't have the best grain handling system in the world, and they do grow their own corn. And now I don't like Bloody Butcher. I've had it from great distillers that have great grain handling. Let me just say this. And we recently had a conversation about mustiness in whiskey at work.
Mm-hmm.
What you're tasting in that is mustiness.
Okay.
Because of the way that they handle their grains, the way they dry them down, etc.
So are they not drying them down enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's
Absolutely.
where you're getting that funk.
Yep.
Now, I will say about this distillery, I had, I'd done reviews and things like that before really getting into distillation. And I'm somebody that if I don't like something, I'll say I don't like it and why I don't like it. And I had posted it, and they actually reached out and they said, "Hey, we're sorry you didn't like this. Can we offer you something to see if you would like it?" And they sent me a Paw Paw brandy. And I know you and I have talked about Paw Paw brandy before, and why it's a terrible idea. I wish it wasn't a terrible idea because that's something I wish I could do, it being the Indiana banana. Mm-hmm. But it was actually really, really good. So I will say, I don't know if they would do that for everybody. I don't think they would. I don't know why they said, "Hey, we'll send this dumbass from Indiana who doesn't like our whiskey some brandy," but they did, and they made up for, quote unquote, having something that I didn't enjoy.
And I can't say a lot terrible about them because they have always been nice to me. I just know that they treated a woman who I believe to be one of the best distillers in the industry pretty shitty in her time there. And that would be Kelly Tennille. And so I automatically have a bias towards them, one way, shape, form, or the other. So, but nonetheless, they're doing what they're doing, and they're making money, and they're successful. And there's people out there that really like it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people could say a lot of shit about my whiskey too, and a lot of people could say something about the Amanda Palmer corn, and that's okay, right? It's all good. They're still paying me a check.
Exactly.
So, all right, guys, we're gonna take a break. We've got two more of these home distilled dills, and then we got something a little special for Dad that we're gonna fuck with him with. So we'll be back shortly.
That's fair.
The fuck was that noise, Dale?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Same thing as when his.
Unfortunately, that was a mating call. And I can run faster than you, Alan.
I don't know. You're in the corner, bud. You're in the corner. If somebody's going to get the old red rocket, it's probably going to be you. Because you can't move very fast out of that corner.
I can't. I'm fucked.
Just shit on the wall real hard. You'll
you
get
can't
out.
tell we're here to talk about the mating season of the wild, rare, and elusive Old Ale Bishop.
Old Ale Bishop.
All right, so we are back with part 3 of the 3 and 30, which is now, I'm pretty sure, 45 minutes podcast. It's headed towards an hour with Justin Whaley, and we have old Del Bishop in the room with us.
Oh, Del Bishop.
Oh, it used to be,
Bishop.
oh, Del Bishop. Nowadays it's, oh, Del Bishop.
Oh,
Del
Bishop.
it gets longer every year.
Right. So, Dad hasn't been in the room up to this point. We've been tasting through, hold on.
Oh, Del Bishop.
Now we got Tiff and Penny.
Next.
So we're tasting through some home distilled stuff. Guy has a 20-gallon copper pot still with a thumper. He's doing all grain. These are the ones we tasted so far have been variations of one another. They've been aged for about 9 months in a 15-gallon oak barrel. So, and then we have a bonus spirit as well. So we're on sample number 3, and I'll let Justin explain the mash bill on that.
So this is batch A. So I believe this would have been the first one done. We said in the other segments, he may have actually done these in one barrel. So this would have been the first one going into that barrel, I believe. 101.9 proof. And the variation on this one's a higher corn, and I'd asked Alan what the requirements for corn whiskey were. So this one's 84% corn, 6.5% rye, 8% barley, and then 1.5% wheat. So the corn went up and everything else went down from what we had prior.
One corn or multiple varieties?
I believe these were all yellow dent.
Gotcha. Okay.
The one we're going to try here in a little bit was the one with
the one of multiple
corn
cool.
varietals in. Nice little cork pop.
Yeah, should have held that up to the mic.
I should have.
You notice that from years of being in reenactments with people, and I have learned not to let anyone else pour for me.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken shit.
My general rule is I don't pour for other people, but Dale, right. I'll pour for Dale.
Do a 2-finger pour. A 2-finger. It's actually 3.
You start at the bottom one, right? And you get up to here?
Yes. You got to do the shocker pour.
Shocker pour.
It's a 2-finger.
If we ever get to start a bar, that's what we'll do.
Right. Now, this one is much more balanced on the nose to me already.
Mm-hmm.
The other two had a little bit of that youngish impression to them. And this one still has a youngish impression. But the other two were kind of like just on the verge of being almost like sickly sweet on the nose. This is a lot more balanced between barrel and particularly corn.
Yep. Smell corn a lot in it.
But I am also getting some vanillins off of that, and a little bit of either English toffee or caramel on the nose on that.
And see, that kind of what led me to think that this may all been the same barrel, because the first one we tried obviously tastes young, but had less barrel into it. Then the next one we tried would have been batch B, and it had a little bit more barrel.
Yep.
So,
and then I will say I am getting a little ethanol heat, just a little pinch on the nose.
Yeah.
If I go all the way in. That's what she said. Go all the way in.
Yeah,
and I said, this is all I got. Brace yourself.
Tic-tac at 90 mile an hour.
Yeah.
That one's got a little bit more heat on the palate, though,
Mm-hmm.
too.
That one's definitely leaning more towards the moonshine tradition, but his cuts are good. It's oily. It's got a better mouthfeel than the other two did.
Yeah,
it's a little more punchy.
It's right on the moonshine thing. There's just a little color in it.
Now, I will say, and I said earlier that I believe he done all grain. This being one of his first ones, he may have done sugar shine with this one.
I could see that.
Yeah, that's a possibility with it.
He just needs to hurry up and message me back, but he's a busy man.
I do on the nose, going back to it, I've gotten the pinch off the alcohol on the nose a couple times, and I don't smell any acetaldehyde or any ethyl acetate, but I am getting the same pinch that I get from acetaldehyde on the nose, but it doesn't smell like acetaldehyde.
Mm-mm. And the sweetness that's there, and it's less butter and like buttered popcorn or butter like caramel corn. It's kind of like a over-burnt caramel or butterscotch.
More of a butterscotch. I get the butter taste. I don't get the caramel taste, but I get a butter taste.
It's a let's race lawnmowers drink for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's
1,000,000%.
Saturday night. Let's just get drunk.
And
Yeah.
this is the highest proof one also. That one's it's only 1% proof point higher than batch B.
Now, is that his handwriting on those?
Yeah.
Because that's beautiful fucking handwriting, too.
Yeah, it's soak line on there.
Say that again. I know I've held it up a couple times, but...
That's sitting around a funeral and just passing the bottle around.
Is that what that one is?
That's what that is.
That's the...
Hey, I brought us something to drink, guys.
It's not going to work on Monday whiskey.
Yep. Guarantee you that.
Right.
And these are what, two? Those are
I
bigger
like
than
taste what the
250s.
white tasted like before you ate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Those
It's not
are-
bad.
What, 375s? Is that what those are?
That's what they look like. Yeah, they...
And that's bottle number 13 out of 100.
Because that would make a damn good moonshine, I think. As a white.
I would almost guarantee that one was capitalized, and here's why. Unless he just done multiple batches of batch A. That was bottle 13 out of 100, and the rest of them are like out of 35, 36.
It's certainly a lot more aggressive than the other two were.
Yeah.
Which would lead me to believe that there's probably some capitalization there, but...
And it's not super sugar bowly, though, either.
No.
It's just that heat.
No, maybe it was like a safety net.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely.
That's not a bad ball. That's really decent.
Is it Del Bishop approved?
Yeah. I'd say that'd be a bowl you have sitting around cold day.
Tell you
Say,
what,
hey, I brought something to drink, guys. Here, have.
after it sets for a second, though, a lot of that heat kicks off.
Yeah, it's
Get a little
gone.
bit more of the barrel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think overall, all those distillates so far have been pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's a sit around and fuck off day is what that one
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a no distillation day.
No. No.
Or a fucked up distillation day.
Yeah.
One of the two.
I'm not going to
Reenactment
work today.
Or tomorrow.
No, that's not tomorrow. That's tomorrow morning's a 5:30 day.
What, don't get there till 5:30 in the evening?
Right?
Because I sure shit ain't going at 5:30 in the morning.
Come on, chicken shit.
All
I
right.
get there at 5:30, stay out of Pedro.
That is true.
All right. You got any more thoughts on that before we end this segment?
No, that's pretty decent.
All
I like
right.
that.
We'll be right back. We'll be back with yet another spirit.
Okay, Archie.
Get everything running here. All right. Back again for the final segment of what I think is now an hour and 10 minutes. I have no idea how
The
long.
90 and 5.
90 and 5, yes.
Everybody's
Yes.
turned it off.
It started
Home.
off as 3 spirits and a bonus, and now it's turned into a full-on like flight,
Yeah.
but with full pours.
Well, that's my problem. When I start bringing bottles, like I'll pick like 3 or 4 things up, and I'm like, but wait,
There's more,
there's more.
like
And
Billy Hayes.
this.
all the interesting
Yes.
things.
Well, this one will be fun because we have one more. Let me move this somewhere. One more home distilled product, which is a white product from the same guy, right?
Correct.
Correct. And what's the?
So this one is a wrong way, swipe the other way.
That's what you said last night.
Not to you, she
Jesus,
didn't.
Dale.
You never know.
Not with that arthritis.
You
Right?
never know.
No, we know.
They don't
You know
call-
the thing about
they
Odell
don't call
Bishop,
me
Justin?
Odell Bishop for
You
nothing.
got to turn it up to 11.
Oh, he wanted to yell so bad.
He wanted to. He thought about it.
So this,
Fucking touch
Now
me.
you gonna nibble hard.
Wow. Wow.
just keep it at the nipple. That's all we need.
This is PG, right?
Absolutely
No.
not.
No.
So this is batch D.
D is for
That's D
dick.
for dick.
Dick.
Can't touch dick.
Fuck's sakes, Dale. So this is a rye whiskey, 80.5% rye,
80.5.
80.5. 24.5 of that being unmalted. So I did the math a while ago, and that means it's 56% malted rye, 24.5% unmalted rye, and then 19.5% corn.
Being a
And-
little picky, ain't we?
Oh, he's worse than me with numbers.
It's okay. It's no different than anything that we've done.
And it's got 3 types of
Yeah.
corn. It's got yellow dent, wapsie, and bloody butcher corn. And
Awesome.
I only have about a little 60 milliliter bottle of this one because he sent this to me as a surprise when he was sending me these other bottles.
Yeah. I'm curious to try this one. It's kind of a reverse Pennsylvania rye, so.
And I have not tried this one, to be 100% honest. I'll pour Dale's. I won't pour yours.
Okay.
I'll get you in trouble if I pour yours.
I can't think what that smell is.
That's definitely malted.
Maybe what I'm smelling is the malt.
Oh, it's definitely malt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100%. That kind of nutty sort of aroma.
Nutty funk.
Nut funk.
I've had that before.
Nutty funk?
When I was corn to tassel, I had some nut funk going on.
That was actually one of Dad's bands.
all I-
Odell Bishop and the Nut Funks.
Yeah.
You can't wash that shit off.
That's actually their hit single. You can't wash that shit off. Odell Bishop and the Nut Funks.
You can't watch shit.
That's the ivory soap.
It smells exactly like I would expect it to. The corn is definitely taking a back seat.
Yep.
The rye is there on the nose. There's a little bit of apricot on the nose. There's some earthiness on the nose. There is that nuttiness on the nose.
Tastes like dirty socks.
Damn, Dale.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I don't like it.
Well, that's a weird thing about when you start going in those weird proportions of malt too. So a Pennsylvania rye would be more like 20% malted rye, and then the rest of it would be unmalted rye. It's real easy when you do something that's malt forward like this for it to go honestly in the direction of dog food. It can get that kind of like protein thing.
What I would say that kind of tasted like to me.
Eat a lot of dog food?
No, but if that's what it tastes like, I don't want to eat it.
Times were tough. Had some Alpo.
Alpo makes real good hamburgers.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
What the fuck?
So, like,
It's not as offensive as I would have thought it would have been for being that amount of malted rye.
I love the nose. It does have a little bit of like the nutty funk thing that I don't particularly like, but the fruit on the nose is kind of nice.
If he were going to age that, he would start to get some nice apricot tones out of it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it'd have to be aged right now.
Well, and that's almost scotchy without being all malt.
It's a little thin on the palate, but again, he's not running all grain, or he's running all grain, but he's not running grain in the still. That's exactly what you get when you try to do a rye mash bill and you stay at a reasonable specific gravity, like 1055 or so, and you can't put the grain in.
Yep.
You're going to get a thinner spirit like that. There's nothing wrong with this spirit. There's no faults in it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It is a spirit that is designed to go into a barrel and be aged for sure.
Yeah. And hopefully,
it sure ain't a white spirit. That's for damn sure.
No, and hopefully, I sent Chris a message, and I will also message him and see if I can get a bottle of that aged. And to be honest, so like this is kind of a weekend hobby to him.
Yeah.
And there for a while, like he was pumping stuff out nonstop. So I'd say he's probably past this batch now, unless he's slowed down a little bit. So I'll try to get that aged, and we can kind of touch that one at some point in time.
Absolutely.
As a follow up to this, and see what else he's got to put out. And I'll, to be honest, I'll see if he's got some of his crazy ones too. Like I said earlier, and Dale wasn't here. He done a Skittles one. Just he fermented Skittles, and I'm assuming it didn't turn out well because after the one video of him doing it, he's like,
no more of that.
No more of that. But I know he tries to do some crazy stuff every once in a while, and obviously do it for the views hashtag. But
well, I'm gonna.
I mean, so that put in the barrel, I think probably be better. Get more taste to it. But to me, it don't have a taste to it right now.
I'm gonna say this for him. That was actually really good for what that is. As somebody who's working on historic rye mash bills right now from Pennsylvania and doing step mashing, that was not at all a bad try in that direction for sure. Now, if I were you, one thing I would suggest is switching the malted rye and the raw rye around. Go no more than 10 to 20% malted rye, and then I would even kick the corn out. The corn I know you used heirloom varieties there, but the corn was lost in the mix to a great degree.
I can't taste the corn.
No, you couldn't, and especially for the expense of those varieties of corn, I would kick that corn out completely and lean into some 2-row brewer's malt. I wouldn't do anything roasted real heavy or anything like that. Maybe even just do distiller's malt. So maybe a 20% rye malt, 10% distiller's malt, and then the rest of it just being raw rye. But even this alone as it is, if you age this would be fantastic. There was not a fault in that spirit whatsoever. There was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing off about it, and there's nothing to be ashamed of with it for sure.
I think if I could get a little taste of the corn, might have made it better.
We're going to run out of video time, so we better go in the bonus round.
Bonus round.
Bonus round.
Glasses.
Bonus round. I don't have a heater button. It's the Crow of Doom.
Doom Crow.
Doom Crow. Doom Crow only shows up at the end of the episode when we're about to do something stupid.
Oh no.
So are we going to do this one like we did before and not talk about it until after everybody tries it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Just sat here with befuddled looks on our face.
Oh. What are you sniffing it for? The rest of us can't sniff it yet, Dale.
I'm sniffing it up. Sniff, I want to sniff.
Motherfucker, I'll sniff
I ain't
both.
saying nothing about it, am I?
Doom Crow said that was bullshit.
I ain't saying anything about it.
Bullshit.
Does it smell like strawberries?
I don't know. It's hard to get kerosene in my hand, too. That don't help.
He doesn't have any idea what the last two spirits fucking tasted like.
This thing was like a fucking kerosene? What the fuck?
I just smelled it and goes, okay, it's kerosene on the hand. That's what
Notes
that
of off-road diesel.
Untaxed.
is. I just going to tell you where you can buy your diesel at.
So this is a bonus bottle.
Hand me that bottle real quick. Don't let him see the...
Yep. This is a bonus bottle, and we'll talk about it here just a minute or so once we get into it. But it's something that's going to throw at least old Dale Bishop. Number one, because he doesn't know what it is, and it's not something that I would assume he would lean towards anyways.
You know what he's going to do, because you've now said that. Now he thinks we're fucking with him. And so what he's going to do now is he's going to drink it and be like, that's really good. And he's going to think, well, see, I pulled one over on them. But now because I've said that and I pulled reverse psychology, he's going to think, even if he likes it, he's going to be like, this is trash. So it's win-win, one way, shape, form, the other. This is why it's the Doom Crow segment.
Now, I will say with this bottle, and there's not... I'll tell a little story about this bottle. I wanted this bottle when it came out, or when the liquor store in Evansville got this. They had posted it online, and I wanted it. And a good friend of mine, he had actually called and they had it set back for him. And he buys all kinds of bottles from this place. One of those, he helped you build a relationship with the liquor store, and you can get what you want. That type of scenario. He doesn't even like this type of spirit, but he wanted it because it was something special. And then I called him and said, hey, I want to be able to at least try that whenever you get it. And he goes, if you want to buy it, go buy it, and just make sure you give me a sample of it. So I ended up going and picking up his bottle and buying it. This is something that I wanted to like very, very much, and I do enjoy this one. But there's some variations of this particular spirit that I don't like because it's kind of light. And I'm more of a heavy-bodied type of person. But this one I do enjoy. What do you think, Dale? He's like, I'm fucked either way I say it.
No.
You don't know?
You don't know. All right, well, then I'll go first. Damn. All right, so I will say this. I love this one already. On the nose, there is a little bit of like cooked fig, like almost leaning into Fig Newton sort of character and territory. There is definitely some smoke, but it is not heavy phenolic smoke. It is a nice, light, almost applewood sort of smoke characteristic.
Yep.
On the palate, it's kind of a weird one for me because it drinks like Glengoyne Scotch is what it drinks like in particular, which tends to be a little more fruity and characteristic, but I know that it has that smoke on it.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally as though they took the base Glengoyne, that fruitiness that Glengoyne has, and then built on top of that. On the palate, I get the malt, but the malt is not obviously like the white spirit that we had a while ago, which is rye malt, which is a little different anyways. It is much more of a relaxed, almost a pudding sort of note. The mouthfeel is very, very silky. It's very kind of middle of the road sweet. It's not sickly sweet at all. It doesn't taste like medicine in any way, shape, or form. It's also super, super chewy. I don't want to say chewy, more unctuous. Like you want to chew, but there's not enough there to actually chew on. Yeah. It finishes very, 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 and I'm going to use the word that I hate, smooth. There's no aggression whatsoever from it. The smoke is there on the exhale, but again, it's very light. Again, I'm going to say like an applewood or something of that nature. Overall, honestly, and this sounds weird, and this is not an American thing at all, it's almost like a figgy pudding. It has that same characteristic. Yeah. Or even like, this sounds shitty because Americans hate these, but a really good fruitcake. Like an actual good fruitcake.
Something with a little bit of butter back behind, a little bit of fat. That sweetness is still there, but it's almost caramelized.
Yeah. I couldn't have that bottle here because I would fucking destroy that fucking thing.
That's why it sits in the basement.
Yeah.
Because, and it's in the part of the basement that is, I literally had to dig that out to bring it. Because I know if that's readily available,
right,
it's done.
It'd be a YouTube night. I'd be sending everybody videos. Have you heard this song?
Yeah. I love you guys.
I love you guys. Can't wait to hang out again.
So, like if you would take raisins and try to make like a raisin simple syrup, you know, you boil them with sugar. That sweetness that would come off of that sugar, plus a little bit of the butteriness and the smoke is there. Like, if you could smoke a...
Don't say it, Dale.
Joint.
You could smoke a dick.
If you would smoke like
I'm trying to figure out what I want to explain.
A fruit cake, and that little bit of apricots there too, which a lot of that has to do with how that's finished also, which we'll get into that here in just a second. But that's probably one of my favorite pours from this particular distillery.
All right, old man, what you got? What do you think?
I get the smoke taste. I kind of get the fruit cake. I really get the raisin. I'm not a real fan of raisins.
Now,
I'm not going to say it's bad. It's something I wouldn't run out and buy. I don't. If you was pouring it for me to drink, I'd probably drink it, but I'm not. It's not one of my favorites.
So from a scale of,
I mean, it's not bad. I'm not going to run it down. It's decent. I don't really like raisins that good, and I think that's what turns me off to it.
So from a scale of 0 to 1, 1 being he would go out and buy it, 0 being fuck this, it's a 0.5.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 6.
A 6?
I'd give it a 6.
6.
The 6 wasn't on that scale, but okay.
I'd probably give it a 6. I mean, I'm not going to run it down. It's not that bad. It's decent. It's just
it's a new gimmick.
It's something I wouldn't buy.
So I'll tell everybody what this is now that Dale's actually talked about it. This is Glenmorangie, A Tale of Winter. So they put out, and I believe it's an annual release. It's like Tale of Cake.
Can you tell us what that distillery name is, Dale?
No.
Well, come on.
I ain't even gonna try.
Oh, come on.
Were you even listening? Sorry.
Oh, you're good. So they put out a release, I believe it's once a year, of some type of specially finished, which most of Glenmorangie is finished in a wine casking, which like the Quinta Rubin is a port cask. They've got a few different wine cask finishes, but they put a special one out every year. First there was Tale of Cake. I'm sure there's more before that, but whenever I got into spirits, there was Tale of Cake. This is Tale of Winter, and they just actually released their last one, or their newest one here about a month or so ago, and I haven't seen it anywhere. But this is a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey, and it's finished in Marsala wine casks. And it's sitting at 46, so that's 92 proof.
Yeah.
And it's, as you guys can see, like, this is probably the first time this has been poured out of since I got it, because I took it. So the gentleman that I got this, or he wanted the bottle, and I ended up getting it. I took it over to his house, and we put a din in it one night because we enjoyed it. And he's not a big Scotch person either. Now, I lean more towards most of the big, super briny, smoky, like salty, like Islay type Scotches if I like a Scotch. But this one, it has a little bit of that bitterness also on the back end of the palate, or almost the side of the palate, that reminds me of that Islay thing. But then that fruit and butteriness,
You don't get a lot of the iodine sort of thing. Yeah, it's not there. Not that it's there, but it's not heavy.
Yeah. So, but it does lean towards that just a little bit, to where I still enjoy it. But then that fruity thing, it's complex, but it's also kind of, it's not super thick bodied, which is weird for me because I like the heavy bodied things.
It's as though Lefroy made a light whiskey entry.
You just had to do that whole light whiskey thing.
I did. All right, guys, I'm about to run out of battery on the phone over here, so we're going to wrap this up. So, Justin, where can people find you on the internets?
So you can find me on Facebook, either my personal page, Justin Whaley, obviously, and Still Learning. I do have a page there for that. You can find me on YouTube. I do have a few videos up for Still Learning as well. And then also should be all now podcast platforms. You can search Still Learning. There are a few episodes on there as well.
Don't forget, they can also find you at, it's illegal to fuck that in Indiana.com, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Just because the animal can't say no doesn't mean it's not illegal.
Right.
Right? What about you, Odell Bishop? Where they can find you? They find you on ham radio.
Yeah, sluts.com.
Oh my God.
Sluts.com.
Sluts.com. Wow.
Hashtag
wow.